The Fever's new signing could change everything for the Indiana Fever. Oh, I can't even say that without laughing. But no, I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about Jillian Alleyne. And she is obviously the new training camp contract signing for the Indiana Fever. And obviously, look, her and Jaylen Brown, and one of the draft picks, because I would assume they're not going to use both draft picks on a college player when they've got one roster spot left. Like, after guaranteed deals, they've got one roster spot left. And even if the only non-guaranteed deal that will allow them to make two roster spots is if they literally cut DeWanna Bonner, which they're not going to do. And obviously then, multiple of them could make the team. But before you guys get angry in the comment section, this is not happening. I'm just talking about the literal possibilities. They would have to cut Caitlin Clark or Aaliyah Boston. For Jillian Alleyne and Jaylen Brown to make the team, and a draft pick, for two of those three to make the team, they would have to cut DeWanna Bonner for two of those three to make the team. For all of them to make the team, they would have to cut DeWanna Bonner and one of Caitlin Clark or Aaliyah Boston. None of those are happening. So they're fighting for one spot. And I genuinely think that this is a signing that makes perfect sense when you look at the Indiana Fever roster. Because the Indiana Fever roster, like, not that I never understood the Jaylen Brown one. She was there to make contracts work. Like, straight up, Jaylen Brown was there literally to make contracts work in the trade. Like, she was a throw-in, and she'll be there for preseason. She's a body for training camp. So if you look at this team's roster, Jaylen Brown is a body for training camp, and they've got 11 players here. So they've added in Jillian, and they've also are going to add in their 19th draft pick. So my prediction for the 19th pick in the draft, who could be there? Like, I'm trying to think, like, who could be... I'm just going to look at just the 3-round mock drafts just so I can just get the all of the potential players. So, like, yeah, like someone like a Rhea Marshall, who I don't think should be there. I still don't think a Sedona Prince is that relevant to this team. Like, if a Maddie Westbeld is there, I think you consider Maddie Westbeld maybe taking her. But I think if you're not using one of those slots on... Like, if Aisha Sivka falls to you, you have to take Aisha Sivka, but I don't think she will. If you're not using one of those spots, in my opinion, on Anastasia Kosu out of Russia, who has super high potential. She's 19 years old, but she's not ready to come over yet. If you're not using one of those spots on her, it's a shock. But, like, I would consider just using a spot on her, Soltau, and just getting vets. You don't need youth, especially if you can bring them over on a rookie deal next year. You don't really need youth, and I understand they have, like, cost-effective contracts, but also you can bring a lot of players in cost-effective contracts because you've got a minimum contract. Like, if you're looking, the Liberty got Izzy Harrison on a minimum contract. Outside of, like, Paige Becker, she's probably better than any other rookie in this year's class. And Maureen Johannes came over, 30-year-old Maureen Johannes came over on a rookie contract. It is, like, it is what it is. It is what it is, and... like, you don't relying on rookies to win a championship. The only, like, of the two best teams in the WNBA, heck, of the 4 best teams in the WNBA, the only players on rookie contract, Dejanay was the only real player. Dejanay and Phoebich, who came over 4 years late, were the only players on rookie deals that did anything. Like, the Aces didn't have anyone on a rookie deal to play in the playoffs. The Liberty had one person on a rookie deal. The Lynx had none. And there was nobody on the Sun other than Dejanay, who's in the final year of a rookie deal. So doesn't make that much of a difference. But if you look at the roster here, you look at positions. Like, Aaliyah Boston is no forward/center. She ain't no power forward. So you've got Damiris Dantas. So Dantas is her best position. She's good. She cannot guard power forwards. She can play the power forward on offense in a 3-out, 2-in system, and she can stretch the floor a little bit. She can play inside, she can play out. She can't play the power forward in defense. Neither can Aaliyah Boston. Like, you cannot... We saw it last year. When these two were on the floor, outside of that one run they went on, so they went on a huge run against... Who was it? Sorry, Seattle Storm. The Seattle Storm, they went on that run at the end of that game. And then Dantas hit 2 threes. I think it was against the Wings to beat them. She hit 2 threes down the stretch, but... in general, Damaris Dantas and Leah Boston just got cooked. The two of them got cooked. Like, when they played against the Wings, it was the biggest reason why they lost that game against the Wings right before the All-Star break, was because the Wings just started running in open layups. So you can't play the two of these together at power forward. And if you're looking at backup power forwards for the team, you would have to start looking at lineups where Natasha Howard, when she's out of the game, you're looking more so at, say, DeWanna Bonner moving up to the 4, where she's very skinny. She could do that, not ideal. Sophie Cunningham moving up to the 4, again, not her position. And if you're looking at their wings on the bench, so you've got a wing that's going to play. So between Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, and DeWanna Bonner, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Sydney Colson, every one of the minutes are accounted for. So this last spot in the roster, they have their starting 5, and there's probably going to be regular season 10-player rotation. So it's going to be Colson backing up Caitlin, DeWanna Bonner being backed up by Sophie Cunningham. Technically, like Kelsey Mitchell, let's say, being backed up by Lexi Hull. Obviously, it's not an exact science. Aaliyah Boston being backed up by Bree Turner / Dantas, and then Natasha Howard not having a true backup. Yes, there's going to be times where they're either moving a Bree Turner or a Dantas down to the 4 at times, or moving a Sophie Cunningham or DeWanna Bonner up to the 4. That's going to happen. But they actually now just have a 4. Like, people are like, oh, if she can put up half those numbers in the WNBA. She's not. She's going to be an end of the bench player. She is genuinely going to be an end of the bench player in the WNBA. And that's fine. But when you're talking about end of bench players, you've got to talk about people that fill in a need. For example, like, if we talk about the Fever last year, their end of the bench players that never really played, like Victoria Saxton did not do anything for the Fever last year. This was a Fever team who had Temi, who had Alyssa Smith, but yeah, their other end of the bench player in Celeste Taylor, who could have came in, played lockdown defense, ran the floor. They got rid of the end of the bench player that could fill a role. And if you're able to do something a team doesn't have, that's what you should have those end of the bench players. Because the Fever, if Natasha Howard gets injured with the way their roster is currently constructed, let's just say Jaylen Brown makes the team, then they don't have a backup. They don't have a true backup. And you're then going out with no power forwards on your roster. So at least, and I don't think she's going to come in and suddenly start at the power forward if Natasha Howard gets injured. But if Howard gets injured, which she did for half of last season, if she gets injured, you're going to probably see a lineup where Sophie Cunningham comes in at the 4. And then with that, Hull has to play some extended minutes. But there's nothing even resembles a backup power forward. And I think at the 4 position, especially with Leah Boston at center, I think Bree Turner and Leah Boston might be able to work together on the defensive end, because just Bree Turner has that little bit more speed, a little more ability on the perimeter to guard. But you would rather have a true 4 at that backup. And I think just have her being there, like, it's a lot easier if a guard gets injured, if Kelsey Mitchell gets injured, to just say, okay, Cunningham, Hull, Clark, you can start. Caitlin, you're going to play a few more minutes, but you're moving to the 2 a little bit more. Colson's playing the 1. It's easier to do that than it is to magic up a power forward in a league where people are still running double bigs. So I think that she's someone that the Indiana Fever are going to, if the roster stops as is, she is a much better fit than Jaylen Brown. Because again, like, we can talk about Jaylen Brown, but like Jaylen Brown, we have to be honest, is having the worst season I've ever seen for an import player. Yes, there are pro players that have had worse seasons than Jaylen Brown. Obviously, she's shooting 30% from 2. She's shooting sub 30% from the field and sub 20% from 3 or something. It is mental. Or sorry, sub 25% from 3. It's nuts. It is absolutely, positively nuts how poor Jaylen Brown is being in Russia. So again, that has to be taken into account. It has to be taken into account. But still, I hope all works out with Jaylen Brown. But I just don't understand the pick for the Fever. I just don't understand the pick for the Fever. And again, if I'm very, very wrong on this, I'll be the first person to make a video. I was wrong about Jaylen Brown, because I've been wrong about a lot of things in basketball. I've been very wrong about a lot of things. I think I've been right about a lot of things, but I've been very, very wrong about a lot of things too. And that's what comes with the territory of giving your opinion on sports. So anyway, yeah, that is pretty much it, lads. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you guys think she's going to make the roster? Or do you guys think it's just automatically the spot is given to Jaylen Brown. I would assume, my guess is that she's 100 times more likely to make it than Jaylen Brown, and we'll see what they do in the draft to see what they're fighting for. Because the only player that I think could compete with her in the draft at the power forward position, that's a true power forward that you might be able to get in 19, is maybe a Maddie Westbeld. Maybe a Maddie Westbeld. But the thing is, if Maddie Westbeld plays well in the tournament and Notre Dame go far, she's going higher than 19. But anyway, yeah, that is the video. See you guys.